What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Team Member Perspective podcast show. Super excited for our guest today, Mr. Alum Chaparral, a team member here in Utah who's had incredible success in his short career in the insurance industry. So first, we're just going to jump right in. Kalum, how long have you been working in the insurance space?
I've been licensed about 2 years. Before that, I was doing some service stuff, just coming in, doing some emails and texts, but that was about 6 months before. So about 2.5 years in the insurance. So
Beautiful. And I know your first year selling, the first year that you got licensed to sell life insurance, how many applications did you submit?
it was like 114, I think, is what it ended up being. I counted, or I refreshed the other day. So
Whew,
pretty
that's
crazy.
crazy. Your first year. Guys, that's
Yep.
a lot of times in our space, that's pretty unheard of. So I'm excited to kind of pick Calum's brain and see what is Calum doing to do that, right? What allowed him to get into that production? And what I love about Calum is he's consistent. He did that his first year, and he's going to continue to do that every single year, which is awesome. So big time. Okay. I wanted to bring that up so you know who we're talking to. Like, this guy figured it out first year, didn't know hardly anything about insurance. In his first year, he writes over 100 life insurance applications. That's big time. I love that. All right, Caleb. So within the insurance space that we're in, as team members in the multi-line space, we're writing auto insurance, fire insurance, life insurance, health insurance. We've got a lot of ways that we can help our customers and write policies, right? So with that comes, we've got to learn how to balance these different lines. And so my first question for you, Calum, is how are you balancing property and casualty, so the auto and home, with the life and health?
Yeah, it's a challenge to balance it all. It's something I've struggled with a little bit, but um, I mean, doing everything last year and even continuing to this year, I have yet to make a single outbound sales call for life insurance. So, um, auto and fire come first. They almost always will until we can get another team member in here to take over that role specifically. Um, but I just focus on my outbound calls, my inbound calls. They're all auto and fire related. And then I talk to people about the life and health and everything else that we offer. As I quote them or as I'm closing them up, I kind of just get a feel for who they are, what matters to them, really, what's important to them, and I try and fit a policy or I try and solve their problem basically. So
Dude, I love that. And I love that you say that you're not making outbound calls for life insurance, right? I think the beauty of the space that we're in the multi-line space, is that we're doing the bread and butter is going to be the auto and the home, the P&C. And more than that, the P&C is typically required, right? People are required to have car insurance to drive on the road. If they have a loan on a vehicle, they're required to have full coverage insurance. If they have a mortgage on a home, they're required to have a homeowner's insurance policy. And so because people are required to have those things, we have a lot of opportunities to use the auto and the fire and get in the door with more financial service conversations, right? And in my experience, I can back that up, right? We are fortunate to have the auto in the home, and I think we would be shooting ourselves in the foot if we didn't use the auto in the home to get into financial service conversations with our customers. So I love that. Do you have a pivot goal that you have for, say, life and health every single day that you shoot towards or shoot for?
yeah, yeah, I shoot for about three conversations a day. Whether I mean they're as simple as, hey, I notice we take care of the home and the auto, but who takes care of the life insurance? Or hey, outside of that temporary policy at work, who like where do you have your life insurance? Like those are pivots to me. I'm not trying to have this big old 15-minute long conversation about life insurance. It's just bringing it up and seeing where that takes me. So
Dude, I love that. And how often do you feel like you're getting into good conversations, or people are like, you know what, Caleb? I need to look at life insurance. Just by having those conversations, how often do you feel like you're getting people that are like, wow, yeah, I love that you can help me. I need help with that.
I'd say probably one of every three actually give me the time of day to send them some quotes. The other two are probably like they may play along for a little bit, but if you ever try and follow up with them, they kind of ghost you, and so you have to kind of bring it up the next time of, hey, we talked about that life insurance. Did you have some time to think about it, or what? Like, did you even see those quotes? And just kind of chase them down a little bit. But one of every three will at least agree to me sending them quotes, and then I can follow up, and we'll have a decent conversation after that.
Dude, I love that. And, Caleb, in my experience, and you know this, but with team members that say, I want to sell more life insurance, the first place that we start always is we talk about activity. How many conversations are you having with your customers every day, every week, every month around life insurance? And the team members that want to sell more are typically just not having enough conversations. Like that's to solve that problem, that's the first thing that we need to do. If you're not going to have conversations, you're not going to sell policies, right? And so I love that
Yep,
you're shooting for
exactly.
three a day. Three conversations a day. Guys, that's not that many. We can do three a day. We have 8 hours in the day. I know, Calum, you're going to school, and so you're balancing that as well. And so you may not be in there 8 hours a day, but you have that intention. Like, look, I need to have three conversations today, and one in three lets you give them quotes. But guess what? You do three a day today. You do three tomorrow, three the next day, and so forth. Imagine how many opportunities you're going to have just by keeping that activity consistent. So I love
Yep.
that. Absolutely love that. Um, Beautiful. Activity is so important. We know that, right? It's like if you want to gain weight, right? But you're not eating, how can you expect to gain weight, right? If you want to sell
Yep.
life insurance, but you're not talking about life insurance, or maybe you're not consistently talking about life insurance, how do you expect to consistently sell it? Okay?
Exactly. And one of the things I've actually noticed is during fast start, we're pushing hard for it, right? And everybody pushes hard during fast start. Well, when we're talking to people more on like a 5, 6 times a day basis, we're starting to write double the policies because we're talking double the pivots. Um, but not only are we bringing it up, but then we've got internet leads coming in for life insurance, and it's like, well, where in the world did this come from? Current customers that all of a sudden they bring it up, and it's like, how does this even work? Like, I have been begging for people to talk to me about life insurance, and now you're asking me about it. So it's just crazy how it all works. So
Dude. And I think, if we think about that, it's crazy to me. And I've experienced the same thing. Like I really focus on life insurance. I start having a lot of conversations, set a plan in place of, look, this is how many conversations I am going to have every day, like a benchmark. And I go in with that
mhm.
intention. We're focusing on life insurance. I've had experiences where I'll show up to the office, open my email, and I've got a customer that says, "Hey, Colter, I need to get a life insurance policy in place. Do you do that?" And I'm like, "What? What's going on here?"
Yeah,
Right? And like you,
you're
you're
like, what's
giving
wrong
me
with you?
exactly like what's going on, right? But I think that's
Are you
how,
dying?
yeah, I think the simple principle of whatever you choose to focus on will expand, right? The law of attraction. It is so true.
Yep.
I mean, if Caleb, if you are in the market for a new car, and let's say you don't really have one in mind, you go to the car dealership and you fall in love with the Toyota Tacoma, right? You love the Toyota Tacoma, and leading up to this, you hadn't really noticed Toyota Tacomas on the road. Let's say that you don't purchase the Tacoma and you leave, but you really want it. How many Tacomas are you going to see on your way home from the freaking dealership?
100.
Or a lot, right? And that's how things work. Whatever we focus on will expand. That's what's going to be sitting on the stage of our mind. And, I feel that will attract more of that into our life. All right. So when we focus on life insurance, we're going to get those things happening, which is so cool. I love that you've had that experience because I have too. You can't even explain it. You're like, okay, I must be doing something right. It's a
Yep,
beautiful place to
exactly.
be. So, Caleb, your first year doing this, which is so unheard of. My first year, I wrote maybe 5, 10 life apps. Okay, not great. You wrote over 100 your very first year talking about life insurance and being licensed. So, for brand new team members that want to write 100 plus life insurance applications in a year, just like you did, what advice would you give to them?
I'd just say don't be scared to talk to people. You're gonna be uncomfortable. They're gonna be uncomfortable. Everybody's gonna be uncomfortable. Maybe even the agent might be uncomfortable, but it's all in the activity, like we talked about. Like nobody's gonna get mad at you, and if they do, like you don't, you got to just blow it off anyway. But nobody's gonna care about you genuinely concerned about if something happened to them, how is their family gonna be able to pay off the home, pay off their cars, like if somebody's going to be upset about that, then again, you don't really want them as a customer because they don't understand your value. They're only insuring their cars because they have to, and those aren't the customers you want to spend your energy and your time with anyway. So I just say don't be scared to talk to people about it. And you have to follow up. It's a follow up business. People, you're very rarely gonna talk to somebody that's like, hey, let's get it done. Like you have to follow up with them 2 or 3 times because insurance is not the most important thing in the world to them. I mean, to us, it might be, but to them, it's like something they can easily forget. They've got kids, they've got busy schedules, they've got school, work, whatever it is, that they get off the phone with us and they're kind of done thinking about it. Like they're not really going to go home and talk to their spouse unless they're like super interested. So you just got to follow up. You got to get rid of the fear, and you have to find out your why of why you're actually doing it. If you're only doing it because the agent is telling you to do it, then you need to like truly believe in the product, or you need to find a way to make yourself believe in the product because that's going to be what succeeds. So,
I absolutely love that, man. And there's a few things I want to touch on there. First thing, like get over that fear because Caleb, even writing 100 plus life applications in a year, do you feel like you still have those thoughts creep in of, man, I don't know if I want to have this conversation or
yeah,
whatever
just
limiting
last
belief?
week, yeah, last week I was sitting in front of somebody. I had already had a conversation with him probably 2 months ago, and he agreed to let me send him some quotes, but he didn't want to do anything. And so I was like, hey, you're sitting in front of me, like while I'm doing this added trailer for you, like, did you have some time to talk to your wife about those life insurance quotes? Like, where are you at now? And he's like, well, my wife's friend actually just died of cancer and everything, and her work policy didn't pay out because she was laid off, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, whoa, like that's, and so he actually ended up buying a policy for him and his wife right then and there. And like my heart was racing. Like I didn't want to even bring it up, but I knew I needed to. And I knew that it was, well, it was a conversation starter too. Like it was just something to talk about while he was sitting right there in front of me. So that was a big like eye opener to me of like even when I feel like I don't want to, and like because there's plenty of days I come in, I'm like the last thing I want to do is talk to somebody about life insurance, but
Hmm.
I know I need to, and I know it's going to pay me, and I know it's better for them, and like it's my job, so let's get it done, and that's what I do.
I think you've just decided, right? I'm going to do it. And when you decide and when you
Yep.
commit, knowing that you're going to run into those limiting beliefs or excuses, the negative self-talk that creeps in of, man, I've already talked to this guy before. Like you still do it. You still just have the conversation, which I absolutely love. And it's not always easy. It comes back to just being disciplined, right? And there's a quote that I love of, you know, would you rather have the pain of regret or the pain of discipline, right? For me, the pain of discipline, I'm willing to go through that because I absolutely hate the pain of the regret of like, man, I didn't do it and I knew I should have, right? And so I think, whatever it is that you need to do to get to a point where you can just have these conversations and commit, do it. And I think what Caleb said here, you got to know your why, right? If you're only doing this because it's what your agent has asked you to do, dig a little deeper. Find out what impact you want to have, right? On your life, on your customers' lives, right? Because I'll tell you, Calum, I'm sure that your paycheck feels a lot. It feels really good when you add 10 life insurance policies a month versus if you
Oh
didn't,
yeah.
right? So the
Yep.
money's there. We come to work, we want to make money, but also, you know, being able to protect someone or help them with a gap in their financial future is a big deal, right? Imagine if you didn't have a conversation with a customer and it was just too late because something terrible happened to them. How would that make you feel? I don't know.
Yeah.
Awful, right? And so again, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Where are we going to go, right? All pain of discipline, it's both of them are hard, right? They're not just easy. It's not like just like, oh, just do this, you're going to do it. No, you've got to do it consistently. And so let that sink in. Figure out what your reason is. Dig a little deeper. Why do you do what you do? Why is it important for you? If it's to make more money, why is that money important to you? How will that change your life? Maybe you want to, you
What do you
know,
want to do with that money?
what do you want to do with that money? Exactly. And why do you want to do what you want to do with that money, right? We
Yep.
just keep asking ourselves why, and I think that will get down to the root of like, holy cow, that's what motivates me. So I love that, Caleb. So that's awesome, right? So if you want to write 100 plus life apps as a team member, whether you're brand new or you've been doing this a while, learn from Caleb, right? Go out. Don't be afraid to have the conversation, right? And maybe if you are afraid, that's okay. Be disciplined. Just have the conversation, right? And figure out your why. What motivates you? Because that will pull you to have these conversations instead of you feel like you have to push yourself every single day.
And Colter, I know you know this, I know this, but so many team members are so scared of like messing up and stuttering through it, and it's crazy. But I mean, I was the same way. I was like, I'm not going to do this until I know my script perfectly. But a script is a script. Like the script only works if the customer has the script too. Like they have to play along, and so the only way to actually get better is if you just stutter through it a couple times. If you're trying, it's going to lead to the results, and customers don't know what you're supposed to say on your script. And so it's like just ask a couple questions, get to know what's important to them, and sell based off of what's important to them. Don't sell them auto loan payoff protection if they don't have a car, if they don't have a loan on that car, or if they told you that the mortgage is more important to them. Don't sell the benefit of paying off the car. So it's just you gotta find out what's important to them, and you've got to stutter through it until you perfect what you want to perfect. So
Dude, I love that. And I love, I've stuttered my way through many, many conversations with customers. In fact, the first time that I did a play to sell life and disability to anyone that had a loan on a vehicle, I remember the first time I did it. I felt like that was one of the worst conversations I have ever had. Like as far as like me feeling good about the conversation, no, no, I did not. But guess what? The guy still said yes. He still bought it, right?
yep,
And so the biggest thing that I try to live by is the simple phrase of incorrect action is better than no action at all. Because what
yep,
happens is if you go and you just take that action, if you stutter through the conversation, you're going to learn. You're going to learn and think, wow, I liked that, but this is where I was hung up. Let's try it a little bit different next time, right? And that's how it slowly evolves. And what happens is if you do that and you have these practice reps with your customers and you just keep stuttering through, you're going to get better at the conversation with experience. And with that experience, you're going to write more policies and you're going to build more confidence. So you're just going to get better and better and better as you continue to implement these things. So I love that, Caleb.
yep.
Um, okay, so we've talked about writing 100 plus life apps a year, writing financial services, but why should team members even care to write the life and health policies?
Yeah, I mean, we're all here for a reason, right? I mean, nobody's doing this as a charity. Um, so money's a big one for me. I love money. I know that talking to people about life insurance is going to make me the most money rather than talking to people about their home and their auto. And honestly, I feel like it's more important. It has a bigger impact on them if something happens. If your car gets destroyed, you can replace the car. If your home burns down, you can buy another home. You can't really replace a loved one. You can't replace a kid. You can't replace a parent. Um, and so and death is inevitable. Like it's sad to say, but it's going to happen. So um, there's definitely a use for life insurance, and people always throw out the excuse of I'm young and I'm healthy. Well, now's the time to get it then. And so that's my why is it's more important to me than talking to people about auto and fire. The auto and fire is just the lead up to it all. So
Dude, couldn't have said it better myself, right? And so, guys, you'll make more money by selling financial services. And the beauty is we have the auto and home to get into those conversations in a very natural, logical, and seamless way, right? But like Caleb's saying, life insurance is important, right? Now, if someone passes away and they have a life insurance policy, is that going to completely fill in that hole in that family's life? No, right?
not at
Ever.
all.
You can't ever expect that. But would having a financial plan and having money allow them to actually mourn, actually get over that instead of having to be in that type of an awful situation with that hole in their life, but then add on top of a financial burden where they don't know where the money's going to come from to pay the bills. They don't know how they're going to pay the mortgage payment. They don't know if they're going to be able to stay in the house or not. Right? Those are some things that happen with people that are not properly protected. And so let that motivate you, right? That's our job. Talk to them. Let them know like, look, if you pass away prematurely, you're still going to have the mortgage payment. Your family's still going to have that, right? You're still going to have all these bills. So that's why life insurance is important. That's why we should be doing this, right? And just educating them is so important because it's important what we do, right? So I love that, Calum. Um, okay, so let's look at a week. A week in the life of Calum. How many times do you feel like you're bringing up life insurance with your customers on average?
Yeah, when I'm super focused on the life insurance side of things, like during Fast Start, I was bringing it up probably 20, 25 times a week. So about 6 times a day. Um, I've kind of been in a slump, not super motivated to talk to people about life insurance as Fast Start kind of gets to you. But um, I've been talking probably about 10 to 15 people every week now since Fast Start ended. But
Dude, that's still a lot of activity, right? And a couple things I want to point out there. I think if you commit and you just have conversations and you make sure you're intentional and that those conversations are getting done every single day, every single week, you're going to write more policies, right? But also, what we do is we can feel like we're a little tired, we're a little burnt out, right? Which is normal in what we do, and I think because we have these different promotions that we're chasing, we work really hard, and then we take a break because we're so tired, we're so burnt out. We work really hard, and then we take a break because we're so tired, we're so burnt out, right? Um,
it's a
and so
cycle.
yeah, it's a cycle, right? And hearing that from a top producing team member that's writing over 100 life apps a year, that should help you feel like those feelings are normal and those are okay to feel, right? But then, I love that, Caleb's recognized that because then, you know, there's certain things we can do to work with those things, right? And, I love that Caleb still is committed to having those conversations, even though he feels like that. And I think that's where true winners excel, is they're going to have the conversations because they've decided, they've committed to do it, whether it's an easy day or it's a hard day. There are some days, Caleb, and I know you can relate to this, that then I don't even like I don't even want to be at work. I don't want to answer the phone. I don't want to make outbound calls. But guess what? That's where your why will
Yep,
propel you to just do it, right? Like I'm
for
here.
sure.
I don't want to be here. I don't want to have these conversations, but why am I here? And then you allow that why to get you into those conversations and just at least have them. And in my experience,
Yep.
I want to share, in those days or parts of the day that you just do not feel great, you're not in the right headspace, you don't want to be there, you're whatever it is, you're just not in the best mood. Um, just committing to taking action and actually taking action, you will feel better, right? In my experience, the days that I feel like crap and I just don't want to be there and put in the work, if I just remind myself, like, I'm here for a reason, here's my why, and I go out and I still have conversations, after that first conversation, I always feel better. After that second conversation, I always feel better, right? And so instead of just sitting there and saying, "Man, this sucks. I don't like my job. I don't want to be here. I can't wait till Friday." Just go have a conversation because you will start to feel better with work. So stop thinking about yourself. You start thinking about others. And that's where I've been able to overcome those times, those days when I just do not want to work or be in the office.
Yep.
Right? So I love that you shared that, Caleb, because sometimes team members and people look at people at the top that are producing and doing it consistently and they think, man, once I get there, I'll be good and I won't have these same negative thoughts and everything. But guys, you still deal with it. It's never going to go away. And I think recognizing that helps us know how to cope with it because it's going to come, right? So I love that, Caleb. Um, all right. So we've talked a little bit about the multi-line space, how we can write P and C. So the auto, fire, life, health. So we've got a lot going on to sell, but also we have customers calling us to pay their bills, to file claims. We've got a book to service, whether people are coming into the office physically or they're calling us on the phone, right? And so we've got our goals of, hey, we want to write policies and here's our goals, but we also have this service and stuff that maybe is not getting us closer to our goals. So we've got a lot to manage, a lot that requires our time and attention. So I want to ask you, Calum, because you've been so consistent, you're writing policies and you're doing it every month over and over and over again. How do you prioritize your day?
Yeah, so I definitely I'm consistent on how I do my day, honestly. I get in, I check my email, I go through any of my emails that are like absolutely critical that I get them done right then. There's very rarely any of those because we can wait on a lot of things. But if somebody emails me and says, "Hey, I want to get this policy started," those are the very first ones I get on because it makes me money. And like I said, money is a big motivator to me. So I work my sales emails first, then I look at like underwriting emails that can wait. I push those off until the end of the day, even the end of the week if I have to. And then I jump right into like my sales calls. I don't like doing sales calls the first thing in the morning though, um, because if I get a bad one on the phone and they're chewing me out, it kind of ruins my day. So I kind of ease into my sales by checking my email, kind of getting ready for the day, mentally preparing myself. Um, but then I just jump into some calls, my hot ones first. So I hit my um, like any hot life leads coming in or whatever that I've talked to that said call me this day. That's what I do first, and then I start working my auto and fire, and then I hit my service on the end of the day when I'm kind of out of energy and I've had to deal with the inbound calls and walk-ins. So that's how I prioritize my day.
Dude, that's so awesome. And team members listening to this, take notes from this guy. Like, if we think about it logically, I think first of all, you got to know yourself, which Caleb knows, right? He knows, you know, if I get someone that's nasty with me on a sales call, it kind of affects me throughout the day. So for Caleb, he shows up and he gives himself a minute to warm up to then go into those sales calls, which I think is awesome, right? And I love that, your primary role in the agency is to write policies, right? To sell. want to grow that
Yep.
book. But you're also dealing with service and other things that maybe don't get you policies, right? You know, the underwriting stuff, the claims. But I love that you put your priorities at the first of the day. Make sure that they get done. Because a lot of team members, and this goes into the next question that I want to ask you, but a lot of team members have an excuse that all of this service takes time away from selling, right? And, you know, I can agree with that. However, if we just prioritize and we make sure that we're getting done the money making activities, right? The non negotiables, like if you want to write life insurance, guess what? You need to have life insurance conversations. If you want to write new PNC business, guess what? You need to quote new households. And so if your primary role in the agency is to sell, make sure that those things get done at the first part of your day at some point, and then go attack the service, attack those other things. And I think, you know, something along with that I love, Calum, is, you know, knowing yourself. And I mentioned that. But think about yourself and your day. When are you at your most mentally clear state when you feel like you can perform the best? Right? For me, it's first thing in the morning, right? Probably from 9 to 12. And so, but then in the afternoon, after lunch, I am a groggy guy. Like I'm tired, I'm
Yeah.
exhausted, and not a ton of motivation. And so I know myself in that way. So I can say, okay, what's important here? Well, I need to sell policies. So when would I do the activities that will get me closer to selling policies? What would be the logical choice that would be the most effective? Well, when I'm at my best,
Yeah.
right? Which is what you do. We can get to the service and all of that that's not getting us closer to our goals after we've done activities to get closer to our goals, and just work with yourself. Work smarter. Don't, you know, like if you work really well after lunch, do those things after lunch, right? But for me it's the morning. So ask yourself, when am I at my best throughout the day? That's when I would do these activities. So I absolutely love that.
For sure.
Love that, Caleb. Okay, so the last question that we'll end on, I guess two more for you. A common
Yep.
excuse, like I said, that I hear from team members is that service, they're just bogged down by service. It's taking time away from selling. What do you think around that, Caleb?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it a little bit on the very first one, but I have yet to make a outbound like life pivot sales call, I guess is what you would call it. I do follow up calls, but that means that my life is coming from service. So it's all pivots off of inbound calls, off of walk ins. I had a lady yesterday, she walked in to add her daughter. And for whatever reason, I hate everything to do with adding drivers, taking away drivers, changing names, everything like that. Like it just drives me crazy because it takes a long while to do it. But I used, I just pivoted to her. I was like, hey, while I'm adding her, have we ever mentioned our youthful driver package? We've insured her for 7 years since Angel became an agent. And she has like three other kids that are on her policy. And I was like, well, I don't know if Angel talked to you, if I talked to you, but or if nobody's ever talked to you, and that could be a mistake on our part. But we have a youthful driver package that I'm gonna quote up for you. And I explained it all. I said it's a $50,000 life insurance policy where if something happens to your daughter, whether she gets sick, hurt, or not hurt, if she gets sick, if she gets in an accident, or if she just passes away, we're going to pay $50,000 to you and your family, and that way it can help take care of any funeral expenses, anything like that. And I said, I know it's the last thing you want to talk about and even think about as a parent, um, but that's my job. It's important to bring it up, and I'd feel bad if I didn't bring it up and something did happen. Like, I want you to know of all the options out there. So she agreed, and I gave her the quote, um, and I gave it to her both ways. It was like $100 a month for just the car, adding her, and then 120 a month, let's say, for having her with the package. And she was like, "Okay, I'm gonna talk to my husband about it." So I was like, "All right, cool, whatever." Well, then she follows up the question with, "So is this only available for her, or can I do it on all of my other kids?" Well, this one pivot is could potentially turn into four life policies, and like it's all about service. All of my pivots come off of service, and honestly, my biggest thing is I don't like doing service. I like sales and I like only sales. But when service comes in, if there's a customer that's kind of driving me crazy, they've called 15 times this week, I bring up life insurance because that's going to stop them from calling every time because they don't want to talk about it unless they're interested. So it gets the service away if you pivot off of it.
No, I love that, dude. And I think, you and I have the same mindset with service, which I think team members listening to this, if you feel like service is a big bottleneck for you and you can't get past it and it's keeping you away from selling, think about your relationship towards service, right? If you're feeling like that's the only thing that service is doing for you is taking things away from you, you've got to reframe that, right? Because honestly, guys, what Caleb's saying here is service, there is a gold mine of opportunity within service. If if you think about a salesperson, we are calling people all the time, all day, trying to get them on the phone. But guess what? We're interrupting their day. And so there's often times where it's not a good time. They can't answer the phone. They're busy, whatever it is. But with service, guess what? They've set aside time in their day.
Calling
They're
us.
calling you, which means they're going to listen to you. And so why would you not take advantage of that opportunity to help your customers see, like, look, here's a potential gap that I see. I'm gonna quote you. You tell me what you think, but it's important to me that you know this, right? They're going to listen to you, right? And so the mindset that I have towards service is take care plus one, right? Take care of them, fulfill your promise. Because when we wrote their policies, we told them we're going to take good care of you, right? So take care of them. Follow through with that promise. They're going to like you. They're going to trust you. So when you make a recommendation, say, look, I see a gap on your policy here, Kalum. You go through it. You're going to write policies. I write a lot from service, and I think it's low hanging fruit. And sometimes we convince ourselves otherwise. But guys, you're hearing it from Kalum. You're hearing it from me. Service is a gold mine. So utilize it, and you'll be able to work a little bit smarter. Instead of having to make 100 outbound phone calls every day, utilize service, pivot. You're going to write more policies doing it that way. Love that, Caleb.
Yep.
Well, Caleb, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to share your success with us. There's a lot that I've learned, anywhere from mindset to tactical things, and just knowing that you're human, right? Sometimes we convince ourselves that these people at the top, they don't struggle and that life is perfect and that they're just really, really good at selling and they can overcome every single objection, whether it's an objection a customer gives or an objection that team member has of why they're not going to sell or talk to their customers about life insurance or whatever it is. But I appreciate you, Caleb, and I'm excited to see what you finish with this year. Um, I know it's going to be incredible. So appreciate you, Caleb.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank
Hope you
you.
enjoyed the episode. We will see you guys next time.